Hello, everybody, and welcome into PGR eSports March Madness 2025. As tonight we make our stop in the third round, the Elite Eight of the bracket tournament. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green alongside Matthew Baker on PGR eSports. And Baker, the last couple weeks have been absolute heaters, and here tonight I expect more of the same as we're making our stop at Hot Atlanta.
Yeah, excited for this one. A lot of cars out on the grid, 44 to be exact. Going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we still had a few bracket busters last week. Obviously, I think the one that comes to mind first, Axel Smith, taking out his opponent. Kyler Wynn also lost his bracket matchup, so he is not in the Elite Eight either. Nonetheless, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Logan York takes the pole, puts down a pretty fast lap at a 31.620. It'll be the Coke Series driver, Daniel Falkingham, to his outside in second. Sean English and Mike Davenport, pair of drivers back in row two. Sean English has won 2 PGR races. We'll see what he can do here tonight. Colin Bowden, Freddie Bosnez back in row number 3. Kyler Wynn, Ethan Eckert, row 4, with Jeff Burke and Landon Velicki rounding out your top 10. It's going to be John Ward back in the 11th spot and Garrett Maines in 12th.
In 13th, you got Daniel Eberhardt, Jackson Bice, 14th. Matthew Lee, 15th. Evan Carbone, 16th. Peyton Strickland, and 17th. Nick Seipel, and 18th. Kevin Freeze, good to see him make a return in 19th. Christopher Walker rounding out your top 20.
Moving on back to the 21st spot, it's going to be Christopher Melton for RNR with Kenny Reel. The Jack Shack still back kind of as a recent after the suspension that he received due to an incident. Nonetheless, though, tonight he'll start 22nd with Jared Haynes behind him in 23rd. Then it's Brian Hennings in the 74 machine. He will start in 24th. Back in row 13, Steve Sizemore in 25th. Axel Smith, 26th. Look for him to try to advance to the Final Four here tonight. Michael Guest, one of the Coke Series drivers, in 27th. With Ethan Kohler, 28th. Brock Westmoreland, 29th. And Hunter Hastings rounding out the top 30.
And in 31st, you've got Miles Bagley, James Wagner, 32nd. Michael Triscaro, part of the Elite 8 in 33rd. Andrew Zanto, 34th. Michael Wingo, 35th. Trevor Osmanoff in 36th. Stephen Miles, 37th. Dylan Jones, 38th, 39th. Josh McCullough. Chris McCullough didn't put a time down. He's also in the Elite 8. He will take the 40th starting spot. Kenneth McCullough, Austin Floyd, Matthew Zwack, and Nathan Harper rounding out your 44-car field.
And with that, we turn our attention to your race info here tonight. Again, we are in the third round of March Madness. 2 to go after tonight. That'll be the Final Four and then the championship, as we are currently in the Elite 8. So 8 drivers, 4 total matchups of head-to-head battles. We're in the Cup Series here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kind of a hybrid between Daytona and a 1.5 miles, because it is a 1.5 miles in length, but enough banking in the corners that with these cars, it really runs like a super speedway. You're still going to see a lot of drafting, a lot of pushing, a lot of shoving. And here tonight, we're going to run 90 laps. Everybody's got 45% fuel, 3 sets of tires, no fast repair, so you got to take care of your stuff. Fixed setups as always with 3 green-white checkers. But look at that track temp, almost 140 degrees. So it's going to be hot. It's going to be slick. These guys are going to have a tough time trying to keep these cars under control. We'll show you the bracket matchups after we get kind of in a little bit of a rhythm. But big thing to note, you see that scoring tower there on the left side of your screen. The drivers that are highlighted in red, those are the drivers that are in the Elite 8. Again, should be 8 total. Freddie Bosnez and Colin Bowden are the 2 starting inside the top 10. Drivers that are in the Elite 8 will also have an elite name, or excuse me, an elite tag in their driver info on their driver card. Just to show you briefly what I'm talking about, look at Colin Bowden's driver card top right. Notice it says Elite 8. Those are your 2 ways to identify the Elite 8 drivers. All right, here we go. The iRacing.com pace car pulls off. It's been a while since we've been to Atlanta, but it never disappoints. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. The round of 3 of the Elite 8, and March Madness is underway at Atlanta.
Down the backstretch, 2 by 2, everyone filing in nicely. Nathan Harper didn't make the grid, but looks like he's going to get back up in the draft. Nice thing about the small draft here, it's a little bit 3 wide towards the middle of the field. That's Daniel Eberhardt and Garrett Maines. But we're 2 wide up front here with the big players. Daniel Falkingham, who was knocked out last week, he's going to do a great job up here with Logan York, who was knocked out in the first round. And Ethan Eckert taking it up the middle. Davenport, great qualifying effort. You see Davenport get up into the wall, as I say that, 3 wide towards the middle.
Yeah, it didn't take him long to get 3 wide, and further back we actually had one car briefly get into the outside wall. Seems like since has gotten things straightened back up. And I think that might have been the 32 machine, Ethan Collier. Yeah, he's lost quite a bit of ground for now, but up front, Logan York leads him across to lead lap 2. Daniel Falkingham, though, quickly back to the outside with a push from Jeff Merck. And they're Freddie Bosnez actually running in that 60 car tonight, trying to get to the outside. But how about Bowden going to the middle here? He'll split the gap on York and Eckert as now they start to just kind of shove elbows out at each other down the backstretch. But into turn 3 here, Baker, I mean, these next-gen cars are pretty wide, and Atlanta's pretty narrow. 3 wide's doable here, but it gets pretty tough, especially as tires wear out.
Yeah, and it gets real tight through the center of the corner as the run goes on. Then it breaks loose towards the end of the run, but 90 laps here, 45% fuel. Going to have to look at a fuel window, and we'll see how that pit strategy comes in on the turn 3 entry.
Absolutely. Well, still 2x2 for the most part, and right now we're on board with Kyler Wynn, but what I want to do here is zoom things out just a bit. And as the field continues to kind of stay 2x2, this might be one of the only calm sectors of this race that we get. So with that in mind, let's go over here and take a look at what those brackets are looking like. I'd mentioned that you'll always be able to note the drivers that are in the Elite 8 just by the scoring timing, but in case you're wondering what the actual matchups are looking like, well, here we go. Notice how the brackets kind of develop up to this point. And we'll name some of the bracket busters in the process, but Garrett Maines advancing his way through to the Elite 8. He's going against one of the bracket busters this week, Axel Smith, who took down Matt Lee last week at Talladega. Good run for Axel. We'll see if he can secure his first attempt at the Final Four by advancing here tonight. That's going to be a tough ask for him. And then, boy, Michael Triscaro, Christopher McCullough, I think that's maybe the toughest battle left, Baker. Those two have both had a phenomenal run so far through the bracket tournament. We'll see who's going to prevail here tonight. And then on the other side of things, Colin Bowden, one of the Coke Series drivers, versus one of the PGR eSports drivers, and Brock Westmoreland. And Brock Westmoreland, I got to think, arguably maybe the other bracket buster, defeating Kyler Wynn last week. And that's how he got himself to this point now. And then last but certainly not least, the final matchup here in the Elite 8 is Jeff Merck versus Freddie Bosnez. And that's another one that could really go either way, you feel like, just depending on what kind of night a driver has. And, really, we saw that last week. Cody Nagels versus Jeff Merck. Looked like Cody had pretty much things locked in the bag. And then right at the end, Baker gets collected in a wreck, and things go Jeff Merck's way. So it's just, there's a lot of skill in it, but at the same time, it's almost like that little aspect of gambling where things have to go your way at the right time. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much skill you got.
Yeah, and got some people towards the back that are kind of upset. Trevor Osronoff, he looks like he got some damage on the front nose. I think that was on the pacing laps, and he is way off the pace, and it was caused Matthew Lee and Kenneth McCullough to lose the main draft here towards the back. The 3 wide up front, Eberhardt trying to make good use of it. Kyler Wynn going to the... Oh, man! What the heck was that move by Freddie Bosnez? Didn't even think that Sean English was anywhere near him there. He just said he didn't see him on the comms. Oh, man!
And they're going to wreck here on the front stretch. Can they save it? No. 2 cars hard into the outside wall. One of them's the 44. It's one of the R&R boys. Brian Henning's involved. Looks like the 60. That one might actually be Jeff Merck. Yeah, and sure enough it is. He's also collected. That's one of your bracket drivers with damage, Dylan Jones. And that was Steve Sizemore, one of the R&R machines with the James Wagner's welding paint scheme on board tonight. He's got probably the worst of anybody, Matthew Zwack. Wonder if he's maybe got a little damage. I think he's okay, just looks to be rolling a little slow. And yeah, I think Steve Sizemore arguably, and well, maybe more than arguably, maybe definitely here, has the most damage of anybody that was involved in that one. First caution here of the night. 10 of 90 laps in. Came a little bit later than I thought it would with how aggressive things seem to open up here in the Intimidator Super Speedway Series, although things have been pretty tame out of the gate, all things considered. And first things first here, let's go back and see exactly where this started. By the way, no fast repair here tonight, in case you did miss the race info. So if you've got race-ending damage in this wreck, you are done. And even if you don't, if you have damage that's going to set you back pretty far, that's going to be equally as bad of an issue here, as this is going to be going down into turn 3. It almost looks like there's that move that we heard Baker talking about. Now, we couldn't quite get the cameras turned up here quick enough to see exactly what happened. So now look at it on replay. Watch Sean English on the inside. That all-black 960 car. There's Kyler Wynn. Big side draft off the 39 of Daniel Falkingham. He jumps down to the middle. Looks like the 60 of Bosnes starts to follow. Freddie just kind of gets right down into the door of Sean English. Not sure if he didn't realize he was there. Just got a little bit of tunnel vision going on. And as he gets down into the door, Sean English here doing everything he can to try to save it as they work through 3, eventually here off of turn number 4. And this is where things are going to kind of get really ugly right as they get onto the front stretch. 3 wide here. We already talked about it. Doable, but very, very tough. And up top, just Logan York, some kind of check up there in the middle gets him shot to the outside line. He gets into Jeff Merck, and it's on from there. And just looking at it. Yeah, go ahead, Baker.
Looks like we have some issues here on pit road. A couple people that weren't able to pit there. It's just kind of weird.
I wonder if part of that is the new pit road, with guys not being able to pit at the end, but having to pit early. Maybe a couple drivers miss it. Obviously worry about the penalty involved with a late entrance. That would be my only guess for now. Obviously, we'll have to go back and see if we can get an idea of it, but showing you that wreck again out front. Once York gets into Jeff Merck, I mean, it's on from there. These cars are too snappy here with the speeds they're running at a track that's this short and this narrow, and just nowhere to go for a bunch of cars. Steve Sizemore, though, as he gets into the back of the 30, James Wagner, that's actually his teammate. That gets to be kind of the main area of pile-ups, if you will. And it looks like the 88 may have been involved in too. We'll have to get a report on who that is. A little bit of a different paint scheme than what we're used to seeing, but I think that's Miles Bagley. And sure enough, it is. He had a pretty interesting onboard view of this. Let's go back and look at it. Let's see how things are looking from his perspective. So here you go in the top lane, and there it is. Starts to see the smoke. There's nowhere to really go. Tries to split the seas. Miles Bagley, a driver that's been coming on pretty strong the last couple weeks in terms of the skill level and the talent. I mean, this guy's definitely got a future in money racing, but I don't know how much of a future he's going to have here tonight with some of the damage he sustained. We'll have to see. Nonetheless, though, give you one more look at this first wreck before we go back live and set up for this restart. From that TV static view, there's Merck around, Sizemore piles in, Wagner and company, all with damage here on the lap 10 caution in our first one of the evening. All right, well, Chris Melton bringing it down to the pits, one of the drivers that you assume had issues, as Baker just mentioned, with not being able to pit, and lights are going to go back on the pace car here, as scoring continuing to be a bit of an issue here, or drivers not being able to pit maybe when they wanted to, being the other part of the problem. I'm sure Baker will have an update for us here in just a moment, but remember, and we didn't mention this at the start, but it is going to be an issue here tonight, and that's the fact of where pit road stands here at Atlanta. It is no longer, when you come off at turn 4, you can dive down to the pits. You see where Kyler Wynn enters here in turn 3. That's where you have to enter now, just like you do in the real life one. So you get into the pits, and once you get down to pit road speed, although I don't know, Baker, these guys look like they're going pretty fast for pit road speed. Maybe not, but I mean, what's the idea here? Do we have any idea of what exactly went wrong? And what's the deal?
It just looks like it's iRacing glitch that's been going on. Not able to, man, they're going off in the chat right now. It's crazy. But it just is really messing up our timing and scoring because the pit road didn't open until they got to the start-finish line. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it certainly was, and we just saw right there kind of an interesting look at it. I don't know if that had anything to do with the issue when the drivers initially came down, but you saw some of the late moves with drivers deciding to actually stay out. Nonetheless, though, how they're going to line up now for the restart. Up front, you've got Joshua McCullough from McCullough Motorsports, Nathan Harper second, Brock Westmoreland third, and there's Matthew Zwack right now in the fourth spot. Michael Triscaro currently rounding out your top 5. Big hopes for Triscaro here tonight. Obviously still looking for that first PGR win, but I think tonight maybe a little bit more concerned with trying to advance to the next round and see if he can get a championship 4 berth. Final 4 berth, I should say. The championship will be the actual final head-to-head battle here for March Madness 2025. It's been a good one so far, and obviously the action continuing here tonight. Nonetheless, though, 13 of 90 laps now complete. It'll be 14 of 90 as we grab the restart, so still a long ways to go here at Atlanta. By the way, 45% fuel. If these cars are filled up to the brim, should be probably somewhere close to 30 laps would be my general estimate. As here we go, green flag back in the air, and whoa, big stack up on the outside right out of the gate. Ethan Eckert is going to get split 3 wide almost immediately by the one of Garrett Maines, who was trying to check up. Felt like that was his best option. Nick Seipel and a few others trying to get lined up. Triscaro, now he's 3 wide up top. No help and no momentum yet for that third lane. They're going to have to get some soon here as they work onto the backstretch because they are organized up front and they are trying to scoot away. But man, I don't know if it's just something to do with everybody being on new tires or what, Baker, but that third lane did not work out in the favor of Triscaro or Ethan Eckert.
Yeah, and everyone's starting to figure it out. Going back to 2 wide, the people who were able to pit when the pits opened are up front, and that is Matthew Zwack. He started all the way in the back, took advantage of that pit road being open for him and closed for others, and was able to come down. But we'll have that fixed this next time to where everyone can pit, and that we won't have to worry about that issue anymore.
Absolutely. Well, 15, going to be 16 of 90 laps complete. Don't forget about the weather that we mentioned at the start of the race, and in case you missed it, with the right side of your screen, that's what the big question mark was how well were these cars going to handle and what kind of racing would we see with a track temp of now 141 degrees, and who knows, maybe get a little bit hotter here before things are all said and done. But that is pretty much on about the top end, just about as hot as you can go. And when the track gets hotter, the grip starts to go away. Things get a little slicker. The back end seems to get a little bit looser, and overall handling just goes down. Now, in these next-gen cars, a little bit more downforce, so it's not going to be as bad as it would be, say, if we were in the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series. But obviously still something that you want to keep an eye on, especially when you're limited via tire sets. So just keep that in mind. Certainly hasn't been an issue yet, but could be if we see a long green flag run. 3 wide now. Garrett Maines trying to split his way through the middle. He's got some help from D3, Daniel Everhart, and it looks like the 25, Kevin Freeze. Haven't got to call his name in quite a few weeks. Good to see Kevin back out here tonight and showing his presence of being one of the best pushers in the series. As this third lane, what was earlier the outside that couldn't make any progress, that seems to be the middle that can't make much progress. Now, Baker, these cars, we've seen it already pushing in the corner here. How sketchy is it, and can you make it happen if you're with the right people?
I think in this car it's not too bad. If the tires, are cool, I think you'll be fine. But once they start to wear out and they get a little bit of heat into them, you're going to see like Kyler Wynn where he drifted up. I don't think he took tires on that, so he drifted up about half a lane on corner exit, and that's hard to line up with for a push and Nathan Harper behind him. But good 2x2 racing up front. Zwack with the lead, and Falkingham pushing him on the outside with Logan York and Colin Bowden to follow.
And if you're just tuning in, again, you are watching March Madness 2025 here for the Intimidator Super Speedway Series presented by PGR eSports. And we are in the 3rd round of the bracket tournament, the Elite 8. All the drivers competing to try to advance to the Final 4 are highlighted in red. Should see a total of 8, and that is 4 total matchups. And so far tonight, the real matchups have been all the guys up front trying to keep the lead. It's been a tough ask so far, but it seems like the outside still favored at the moment. Matthew Zwack and Daniel Falkingham have really gotten linked together and been 2 good pushers. John Ward, though, the driver that I just mentioned, has now broken into the top 10. He's up 2 spots from where he started this race at. That's another driver that really seems to know how to get it done in these next gens. Ward, though, right now playing it very patient behind the 6 of Colin Bowden. We'll see how long that patience remains here. That's 21 of 90 laps complete. Baker, by the way, I mentioned right around, I think, 32-ish was kind of my guess for laps that they could run for a pit sequence. I'm thinking maybe a little bit less, right around 30 laps. How does that sound fuel window-wise?
Yeah, it sounds about right for that pit road. And hopefully, we can see some green flag stops. We had this race a few weeks ago, and it was a great race in the next-gen car. So hopefully we can see a green flag stop and see how people get spread out.
Yeah, more of that for sure. Now back on the bottom. Here comes Kyler Wynn, Nathan Harper. This time they got tandemed up a little bit sooner. About halfway through the corner, you wondered if that'd be enough for him to poke the nose of that Chevy Camaro out in front. Nothing doing, though, yet. The inside better through the corners. The outside stronger down the straights. Daniel Falkingham, though, ton of experience. You get 2 Coke Series drivers linked up. I got to think it's going to be pretty tough. Now, obviously, Matthew Zwack, not a current Coke Series driver, but he's been there before and obviously still in some of the more Pro League series. And so for him, Baker, out in front here, is he trying to learn, or does he pretty much know what to expect?
I think he knows what to expect here. And Logan is one of the better Atlanta drivers as well. He's going to be very, very hard to beat here. I think he's, if not one of the best Atlanta Super Speedway racers we have here. But looking at these battles going through the field, Michael Trasquero, Christopher McCullough, they are right next to each other in 28th and 29th. You've got Garrett Maines in 11th place in his adversaries. Axel Smith sitting in the 20th spot. They're about half a second off each other, so good battles throughout the field for this bracket.
Yeah, there certainly is, and still very, very early, not even close to the halfway point, at least not yet. So a lot of racing to go, a lot of things that can happen, but so far, it seems like Daniel Falkingham has maybe been the most consistent driver out in front. We've seen plenty of lead changes, but one thing we have seen is that 39 car in the equation almost every time that we have turned our cameras towards the front of the field, and he continues to lead us. Look at the cars kind of, I think the word they use is porpoise down the back straightaway. I may have completely said that wrong. I have no clue, but basically when the cars are pumping up and down like that, just how rough it is down the backstretch here at Atlanta, and sometimes can play a factor in the moves that you try to make. But so far, Ethan Eckert, who fell back, has really not tried to make his way back up to the front. You saw him drafting right there with the 97 of Axel Smith, but not getting too aggressive. These two are kind of chilling behind the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt. Steven Miles back there as well. And we've got this second group, which has kind of got broken off right now, being led by the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. That is one of the veteran McCullough Motorsports drivers. So if there's anybody that you want to lead a group back up towards another pack, that's going to be the man to do it. Matt Lee trying to do that job right now as he is the lead pusher. They've got Jackson Vise, Michael Guest. That's another one of Coke Series drivers. And a couple more, a few MBG drivers in the mix too. Michael Trasquero. And then obviously Christopher McCullough, who you talked about, those two in a head-to-head matchup against each other, running right next to each other. And then Dylan Jones back in 30th. So they're trying to catch, which I think they've done. But then the rest of these groups back here, we've got a pack being led by Trevor Ozernoth, another pack being led by Brock Westmerlin, Jeff Merck, and a few other damaged cars. Those packs have not been able to make any headway on the leaders, and if they continue at the pace they're at here, Baker, they're going to be in danger of losing a lap, arguably before we even get to a green flag stop. As I mean, the speed difference here when you're in a draft versus when you're not, or a bigger draft versus a smaller draft, is just absolutely insane. And these next-gen cars certainly offering a pretty unique combo here tonight.
Yeah, well, what it does is it just helps click the laps off a little bit faster, smaller track. Yeah, they may get to them faster, but the fuel window is just ticking down just as much. But you see, Kevin Freese to the middle. Kyler Wynn blocks to the middle line. Harper was pushing there on the inside. Looks like the outside is the place you want to be for this race. Zwack leading with Falkingham, Logan York, just like we called it before. And what is that? Nick Seipel yet again. He's really impressed me these past couple of weeks. Really doing a great job on these different super speedways. Not getting the finishes he would like. Nathan Harper gets pushed up off the bottom from Daniel Eberhardt. He'll slot back in line to the bottom. It was 3 wide briefly out of 4. But Freddie Bosnaz, he's battling Jeff Merck. He's up here riding smooth, riding smart, going from top to bottom, keeping the tires under him. He knows Merck has a lot of damage, so he just knows he's going to have to finish the race here.
All about managing at this stage in the race, and a few drivers now starting to get lined up, and this seems like a little bit premature to me for this line to be getting this single file this quickly, Baker. I mean, we saw everybody went back green on lap 14, and everybody that topped off on fuel should be able to go till right around lap 44 or so. So surprised to see them all get lined up this quickly. You wonder if maybe the grip's starting to go away and everybody just kind of desperate to file in line and try to just ride around until we get to this pit stop. But most places, when we talk about super speedway wise at least, you know, Baker, when we see green flag pit stops, we're talking about fuel only, and if you have time for tires, maybe you take them. But here at Atlanta, a little bit different. You can make a lot more speed on fresh tires. Do you see everybody taking 4 here on this first pit stop?
I don't know. Maybe this first stop, yeah, it makes the most sense. But you get down to the second stop, it's going to be a tough call because you can gain a lot, and I mean a lot of time if you don't take tires.
Well, we'll have to see what everybody decides to do as another one slots up in line. The 90 of Daniel Eberhardt on the bottom, though, down the straights at least, is still Kevin Freese, Ethan Eckert, John Ward. And then everybody else kind of running that qualifying line here at Atlanta, down on the bottom in the corners and up top on the straights. I mean, that nice long single file arch down into the corner. Nobody making a move, not to the outside, not to the inside. At least not yet. Just as I say that, though, here goes Colin Bowden. Maybe looking for either some clean air, thinking about trying to gear up a move. Kyler Wynn will get back to his rear bumper. And further back, 3 wide again. One stuck in the middle. Looks like that's going to be the 45 machine. And you wonder, it's not Ethan Collier. That's just a few spots up, though. The 45, is that Peyton Strickland? Yes, it is. The 62 of Elke on his outside. Whoa, almost some contact between those three as they came off of turn 4. Tight quarters racing down the front stretch, but they seem to have just about got it sorted out by now. 45 will have a chance to hopefully slot up in line eventually, although Strickland not catching any breaks. Now he gets into the 32. More contact back into Ward. Gets into Ward again. Man, we better take our cameras off of these guys here, otherwise we're going to jinx them. They continue to battle it out. Finally, they get it sorted out. Boy, that was a really close call. But back up front, Matthew Zwack continues to lead. Daniel Falkingham second, and Logan York in third. By the way, the running order currently of your Elite 8 drivers, Colin Bowden, the highest running of them all, where he currently sits in that 5th spot. Garrett Maines is in 7th, the second highest running of your Elite 8 drivers. And again, I know we're coming up on green flag pit stops, but it's always important to keep some sort of track position, at least if at all possible. And obviously, Zwack Falkingham going to be in the best spot for that pit sequence. But getting back to your Elite 8 drivers and where they currently stand, after Garrett Maines, you got to go back to the 11th spot, Freddie Bosnez, and then all the way back to 18th to find Axel Smith. And so that's the first 4 of your Elite 8 drivers. And you've got Christopher McCullough in 23rd, Michael Triscaro back in 29th. So those two keeping a little bit of separation amongst themselves right now. Triscaro going to have a little bit of work to do. And last but certainly not least, Brock Westmoreland and Jeff Merck back in 34th and 36th. Those two really have some work to do, but still a fair amount of time to do it. In just about 3 laps time here, we're going to be coming up on still 50 laps to go. I know they go by quick here at Atlanta, but so far, so good. Only one caution to note as we're now back to 3 wide. Nick Seipel in the middle, and guess what? Garrett Maines is going with him here, so you almost wonder, Baker, you said you liked what Seipel's been doing the last couple weeks. Apparently Garrett and a few others have as well. He seems to be starting to make some friends out on the racetrack.
Yeah, well, Seipel got split 3 wide there, top side from Bowden, and Wynn on the bottom. He had Bowden go all the way up to the. Oh man, Seipel gets.
And he's trying to save it. He does, but he's going to lose it on the apron. It'll draw the caution regardless, as that looked like that was getting ready to pile up the entire field. But Nick Seipel does hold on. What a save from the 75 machine. After initial contact and what looked like was going to be a day-ender for the driver out of Goobertown, Arkansas. He's okay. A little bit of damage to the right front, but as long as it's not suspension-related, he should, keyword should, be able to get that fixed back up. In fact, if we hop on board here, looks like the steering wheel is still relatively straight, so I think he'll be okay here. It'll be a good break for Nick Seipel getting that caution so that he can go in and repair it. But what sparked it is going to be the bigger question here. Is they work on the front stretch. Him and Garrett have been working pretty good together. We were just talking about him, and then is there some contact between these two here, or is it somewhere else? Let's see. So they come off the corner. Garrett's getting a little tight, maybe trying to slot in line just behind the 6 of Colin Bowden, and in the process of doing that, seems like initially he's okay right there. Seipel goes down, dips 2 tires below that double red line. And then Kyler Wynn here, I think Kyler was just trying to shoot the middle, and right as he goes for it, that gap all of a sudden closes off, with Seipel kind of trying to work up the racetrack to maybe cover that move. And that causes Kyler to tag him in the right rear, gets Seipel out of shape. Eberhard gets into that 75 in the outside wall, but then that's it. I mean, really, Baker, I know you had to throw the caution there, but I would say overall we got away with one. Look at that for the 75. Back this up again and show you what it's just, and it's such slight contact. You know, if it's even if it's a Daytona or Talladega, I think you see kind of the same incident right there. We talk about these cars having a ton of downforce and being so easy to drive compared to the older cars, but they're still set up to where if they get tapped just a little bit out of shape, as soon as they break traction, they are all over the place. And Seipel barely clipped the back of the wall with the rear end of that race car, but man, that was a really good dodge too by a few of the drivers that had to sneak through that. Was one of them, thought one of them may have been Stephen Miles. Doesn't look like it was. Let's see if we can go back here and get another look at this before we go back live. And let's see, we'll back this up a little bit further here and go right back to the front. Give me just a moment here. All right, so watch this again. We'll go to Seipel. In fact, we'll go to his onboard view this time and see what it looked like that way. And by the way, I didn't really mention this, but by Seipel kind of hanging on to it and saving that race car for the most part, he also reduces the amount of track position that he loses. Obviously, still back to 29th, but could have been a whole lot worse for Seipel here. Lucky that he doesn't collect Garrett Mains's. When he gets hooked to the right, I mean, he's into the right side door, left side door rather, of Garrett Mains, but somehow that car keeps itself straight. Maybe use Garrett as a little bit of a pick to save it. So nonetheless here, that's what's going to bring out our second caution of the night. Second chance for pit stops. As we've seen a couple big incidents here. But that one, again, not nearly as bad as it certainly could have been. All right, back up at the front now. Matthew Zwack continues to be scored as your leader. Daniel Falkingham second, with Colin Bowden third, Logan York fourth. And it looks like Kevin Fries currently rounding out your top five. All right, so as the field works down the backstretch here, just about at the halfway point now, with this caution, looks like it's going to stretch that fuel window out a bit further to probably, looks like right around 30 laps from now, so you figure right around lap 70 or so. So when these drivers are going to be looking to make that next round of green flag pit stops. We haven't got to see one yet. That might be for the best. I have a bad feeling that everybody trying to get slowed down by turn 3 entry is just going to be a really, really tough ask. We haven't got to see it before on broadcast, at least not that I know of. We've only seen it under caution on broadcast. So I'd certainly like to see it, but you never know. And with 41 of 90 laps complete, by the way, once Zwack got up to the front, he has not relinquished those first two positions. Him and Daniel Falkingham have been really, really good together. You could call them money right now. We'll have to see if they can keep that chemistry up. Almost halfway. And round 3, the Elite 8. March Madness 2025. Green flag back in the air at Atlanta. And this time it's a better restart for both lines. But it's still all Matthew Zwack who gets the bigger jump. He'll lead everybody around the outside. As you see now, looks like the 960. I believe that was Sean English trying to get back up to speed and get out of the pits here. Tough break for English is obviously he loses a lap. But still 2x2 into turn 3. Bowden now your leader. And man, Logan York, Daniel Falkingham, Baker, they're doing a lot of pushing. And man, Zwack and Bowden almost lost it right there.
And Logan almost lost it too. But Colin Bowden, all favored. He's going to come back in the field.
Caution is out. Another big wreck here. Number 3 tonight. Second big one as Colin Bowden, with some help from Logan York, got loose. Back up into the field he went. And massive damage to the BuildSubmarines.com number 6 Dark Horse Ford Mustang. And you just kind of felt like the way they were pushing on the backstretch going into 3, because this would be a possibility coming off of 4, and it waited a little longer than I thought it would. Didn't happen until down into turn 1, but watch this. Already a lot of pushing and shoving got Bowden up into Zwack. And again, that's Logan York doing the pushing. But then right here, this is where it gets interesting. You see York actually gets a little bit offset. And I don't know if he meant to do that, if he thought there was a spot, or if just kind of the natural flow of the race car got him down that way. But you can see that Bowden obviously goes to kind of cover and set up expecting a push. And instead of a push, he kind of gets a bit more of a swipe. This is what it looked like from Logan's cockpit view, by the way. Right there, it's close, and then just going to see the second one right there. That's the one that ultimately gets Bowden out of shape and then gets back into Logan York, and it's on from there. Kevin Fries gets turned. He gets down into Axel Smith, one of your bracket drivers, and just everybody scattering to try to miss it after that.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Logan York just over-aggressive on the back bumper. Colin Bowden gets him turned around.
So with this caution, it'll push us a little bit closer to that fuel window, but still obviously nowhere near close enough, at least not yet. And, you know, I don't want to use Logan as the example because he's really not the kind of guy that does this normally. And I know this was obviously a complete accident, but Baker, I'm kind of curious about your take on this because we've been hearing it over the money racing scene. I kind of saw some chatter about it today in the Discord of, you know, more talk now that guys have got to start being held accountable if they're the lead pusher to be able to push the guy respectfully. And again, not saying Logan York did anything wrong. This is just guys going at it. Things happen, but it still brings up that same topic of conversation of when you're the lead pusher, it's your responsibility, as much as you want to get a guy to the front, to not wreck him because you're the pusher. And obviously Logan York there trying to do everything he can to get Bowden to the front, gets him offset, and unfortunately ultimately causes a wreck in the process. What do you think about it, Baker?
Yeah, I after the Xfinity race last night, people complained so much. They're like, oh, it's netcode. And they just don't take care of the car that's in front of them, no matter if they're making blocks or not. It's your responsibility to push them,
Absolutely. Well, glad we see eye to eye on that topic, because here tonight, I think we might see a lot of big blocks at the end, and it'd be interesting to see how everybody lines each other up. But again, right there, the 6 of Bowden, and man, you got to give him credit. He was doing everything he could to keep that off the racetrack. Wheel was full lock left as soon as that car started to snap back right, but obviously just so much speed as you work into the corner that it's just not all going to stay down to the moment. The momentum naturally kind of comes up the racetrack, and when it does, unfortunately, that's where kind of the rest of the field lies. And there was a couple of big bracket hitters in this one, Baker. I don't know if you noticed it as they went by, but Christopher McCullough, he got into the outside wall. Axel Smith, one of the drivers who got involved in this as well. So we definitely had some names in this that's going to be interesting to see once they go in and get damage fixed, who comes out clean. And we may be getting close to already eliminating a few of your Elite 8 drivers just via damage and wrecks that they've been in here tonight.
Yeah, going back and reviewing some of the penalties there. It's been a lot of work over here, so sorry if I'm a little disconnected, but a lot of ARCA braking, a lot of people pitting for no reason, or not actually following the pit commit line. So a lot going on here. A mile and a half. It's a ton to take care of here in a super speedway.
Certainly is. Well, speaking of ARCA braking, how ironic. By the way, for any iRacing fans, whether you're a driver or just someone that likes watching any form of super speedway racing, the newest ARCA car update has officially been released. That's been kind of the card that's been running this week, as we'll hold that thought now as we were looking at the last few replay, but these guys got it cleaned up. We are back to green flag racing up front. Matthew Zwack, as your leader, took the green, and just as he's done all night, right back to the point on the high side. This time, Kyler Wynn, not sure if he was trying to split up the duo or if he was looking to see if he could drag this slide down for a side draft, but nonetheless, the 82 now with some help from Ethan Eckert. Where will the 82 take the run? He'll go third. Yep. Eckert's going to follow immediately as they work off into turn 3. 3 wide for the lead, and it seems like maybe they've had enough of Falkingham and Zwack leading the field.
Yeah, 3 wide. No one's going with Kyler Wynn, though, trying to get around Daniel Falkingham. Eberhardt's going to be a taker. They're going to go up to the top side, riding around turn 1 all the way, high, wide, and handsome on the outside line. Guest to follow, Nick Seipel as well. You got Nathan Harper there on the bottom with Kevin Freese, who was involved in that first incident, but he's making his way back up. Ethan Eckert stuck in the sucker hole all the way.
That's a tough break for Eckert, because he was one of the drivers who kind of chose the conservative route. When Kyler went 3 wide, he stuck with the middle because that was the more organized lane. But then everything just kind of molded around him. Everybody split 3 wide, so he ended up as the odd man out, but only fell about 4 or 5 spots and then was able to jump into the outside line just in front of Peyton Strickland. So he didn't lose all his track position, but certainly not something you want to have happen as we get to the end of this race. You're going to try to rely on those guys to potentially give you help. Trouble out back. The 60, Jeff Merck into the outside wall. 1 for now as he slides down the banking. Will it collect any more here? It will not, at least not now. Jeff Merck with a new paint scheme on board here tonight, and this is not the first incident that he's been involved in. So unfortunately, the bad night has gone worse now for the NBG Motorsports driver out of Punta Gorda, Florida. And so for Jeff Merck here, he's going to have to try to go in and get even more damage repaired. The good news is, well, actually, I take that back. I forgot his matchup was not Christopher McCullough. That's what I was thinking for some reason for a minute. And I don't know if the man he's matched up with here tonight has really gotten all that much damage. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Nonetheless, let's go see what gets Jeff Merck spun around. And, I mean, these guys were back here battling for the 20th plus positions. I mean, this is nowhere close. And watch right here. As they're going through the middle, you see the 60 of Jeff Merck. Oh, it's going to be whoever gets into the outside wall coming down, I believe. And we'll back that up and figure out exactly who that was. I think that's going to be Michael Wingo. And it looks like it is. So Michael Wingo on the top, 3 wide. Jeff Merck and a few others here. All were splitting through the middle. And again, we always say how tight it is here at Atlanta. And then right as Merck goes to get through, Wingo up top by the wall, just trying to get that car a little bit lower on the racetrack. And, well, as he starts to come down, Baker, initially I thought it was just him coming down, but it certainly looks like right there at the end, Merck comes up. And, you know, I know Wingo was coming down, but I think if Merck stays where he is, there's no contact. It looks like Merck starts to come up, maybe just a little bit of net code, and those two get together.
Yeah, a little bit of net code. More of a racing deal than anything. They kind of both meet in the middle there.
I think that's a good call on that one, is Wingo with a pretty hard shot right there into the outside wall. Merck more so an innocent spin, so he doesn't develop a lot more damage from this one, but certainly still insult to injury involved in this wreck after being involved in the last one. Here's another view of it. There's the initial contact. Merck gets most of his damage right there. That's where he got all that right front damage, and then after that, it's mostly a spin for him. And I mean, these guys out back checking up, but still coming in a little hot. Nonetheless, though, everybody was able to get it low down and able to make evasive maneuvers to miss without getting involved in this one. Give you one more view of the tower cam before we go back live. There's the initial contact, and I mean, right there, ooh, the 6 of Colin Bowden. Watch that car jump up. Wonder if he may have had brief contact. Watch the 6 right there in the middle. Bam, right there. And that is one of your bracket drivers, so we'll have to see if Bowden, looks like he did get a little bit of right front damage from that. Certainly will be something interesting to keep an eye on. As we go back live now, up front leading the way, Matthew Zwack currently in first, Daniel Falkingham second, Kyler Wynn third, Garrett Maines fourth, and Daniel Eberhardt currently rounding out your top 5. Lights on the pace car are off. That means we're getting ready to get back to green flag racing. And Baker, I was getting ready to mention it under that last caution, but just real quickly here, the new ARCA car is out. I had a chance to obviously run it in Jimmy Crow's race. I think that was either Monday or Tuesday, but point being, it's something different, but I think it's been a ton of fun so far, and I'm assuming PGR is going to have that car coming up here in probably the next month or so at least. And as Baker continues to his race control duties, we'll get his opinion on that here shortly as we get ready to get back to green flag racing. By the way, if you live anywhere kind of in the Great Plains region, actually even as far up as even the Ohio River Valley and as far south as the southeast, you need to keep an eye on the weather in the next couple days. There is some nasty stuff that's going to be coming through, so if you live anywhere, especially Alabama, Georgia, just keep an eye on that. I know it's a random topic, but again, I do study meteorology in college, so seeing something like this, we don't see it too often. And I know we got a lot of drivers from those areas, so just keep an eye on it. Speaking of Atlanta, Georgia, that is, we are back green here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a good restart for the 18 of Matthew Zwack as he gets out of the gate with a good restart. The 39 quickly lines back up. I mean, at this point, Baker, nobody has been able to break the stride of these two.
No, they've been working together really well. Up front, Garrett Maines now there to support him as well, so you get 3 very strong cars. Make it 5 very strong cars on the outside. But 2 very good ones on the bottom. That is Kyler Wynn and Freddie Basnez. But you saw with Logan York and Colin Bowden, if you're not really on the same page of where you need to line up with pushing the quad oval, it could get you sideways really quick. And if you're not on the 210 to save it, it's going to be real tough.
Yeah, it really is. But right now, up front, again, continues to be pure domination. We haven't even had a chance to really go back here and talk about some of the other names that have just been kind of hanging around. And, you know, I know, granted, we don't do that as much as we used to, Baker, but it's so hard because these races, seems like you have caution so quick because the racing up front is so aggressive. But just turning towards the back here, the 55 of Mike Davenport, update on him. Remember, he had a phenomenal qualifying effort earlier and got himself starting in that 4th position. So where he currently runs now, tucked on the bottom of the racetrack here, he's made up a few spots from what he lost, but still overall down 17 spots from where he started this race at. Still has a lot of work to do. Still 2x2 now as the field continues to work their way through 3 and 4. And that 3rd lane, we've seen it kind of have its spurts, Baker, but we haven't seen it really sustain itself more than a couple laps.
Yeah, not really. I don't think the 3 wide's going to work out too well for anyone, especially as the tires get a little bit older. You may be able to do it on the green white checker, but that's about it. You're not really going to make up any spots with it. And I'm getting confused. I keep thinking Malik Ray's out here, but that's Michael Guest's paint scheme. He's in that new Inferno eSports from Las Vegas paint schemes, and Six Karma eSports. So all the new teams that are out here for the eNASCAR Coke Series are representing here in the PGR race, well, with Daniel Falkingham and Michael Guest.
57 of 90 laps now in the books. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the PGR eSports Intimidator Super Speedway Series third round, the Elite 8 round of March Madness 2025. And as we continue to stay 2x2 up front, little 3 wide here. Nathan Harper stuck in the middle. Jackson Byes trying to work with him. That Seipel up top and the 21 on the bottom. That's Michael Guest, who we haven't had a chance to talk about too much here tonight. Really hasn't made as much noise as what we're used to seeing from him. Just chips haven't quite fallen his way yet. But still time to see what can happen here is, man, tell you what, Baker, I don't know if we're going to see a green flag stop tonight, but if we do, I think it is going to be absolute chaos to see these guys try to get not only lined up, but slow down in time to make it to that kind of pit entry cone area.
Yeah, it's a tough one, too. It's a flat area, and you have to stay below the white line, so you have to be able to pedal it, but you can go as fast as you want to. You don't have to, oh, man, one in the outside wall through the quad oval, but yeah, you have to really slow it down, pedal it through, but you can try and go as fast as you want through that entire commit sign until you get to the actual pit road.
Absolutely, and as we cross the line next time, it'll be 60 of 90 laps complete. How about in the chat, Devin Ray with the $3 super sticker. We appreciate it, Devin. Thank you very much. First one we've had in a while here on PGR. Not sure if people forgot about it or if we just need to pick up the commentary a little more. Either way, we certainly appreciate it, Devin. Nonetheless, though, up front, 60 of 90 now officially complete. 1/3 of the race left to go here tonight at Atlanta. Eckert trying to get a run here with Freeze. We'll see if those two decide to go 3 wide. Carlbahn now making his way back to the front. First time that we have heard him make some noise here tonight, just behind them. The 05 of Joshua McCullough trying to get his way back to the front with Jackson Byes through the middle. And this pack right now rounding out with the 04 Matt Lee. That's only about 23 cars deep, Baker, so they're certainly starting to fall off a little bit here in terms of numbers in this lead pack. That's how many incidents we've had here tonight.
Yeah, and you see one of those incidents being one of the Elite 8 drivers, that is Michael Triscaro. He's going to get lapped here on the high side by the field. Going to try and go to the back. Andrew Santo spinning out just one towards the apron. He saves it. Going to keep it going. That one is a lot more impressive than you would think it was.
Whoa. Trouble. Oh, man, big hit. The 55, Mike Davenport, hard into the outside wall. Caution is out. And the top 5 qualifier here tonight is done for the day. Smoke out of the back. That engine is expired. That car is destroyed. And for Mike Davenport, blindsided right there. Tough break for him. 2-car incident. I think the other one, couldn't tell if it was the 05 of Joshua McCullough or somebody else. We'll see if we can get one more look at this here. And watch it again. As they go through the middle. Ooh, is there maybe some netcode right there? That was a really interesting look. As the 55 Davenport's definitely coming down. I wonder, does he get loose? Let's go to his cockpit view to start this off. So here he is in the middle. Sees Triscaro come down. No, he doesn't get loose. He has to go down because he sees Michael Triscaro on the 34 starting to wiggle down the racetrack. And as he goes to go down right here, that's where the incident occurs. And Davenport just trying to go down. Baker, he gets into the 05 of Joshua McCullough, who had nowhere to go. And then that contact is going to get the 55 sent back the other way. The weight shifts, and he collects Lee. Those two take a huge hit into the outside wall. That's one of the biggest hits we've seen here tonight. And watch this again. Show you this from a bit of a different angle here. This is the TV tower view. It's the one that always kind of makes it look the worst. Is I think Joshua McCullough gets away, but these two do not. And Matt Lee, obviously the innocent victim in that one. He was just minding his own business out back, and man. Well, destroys that race car, and in the process, gives us a caution and a restart now that is inside the fuel window. That's going to be the key term. Let's go back and look at this here a few more times before we go back live up front. There's that violent impact for the 55 at Davenport. When you get turned in the quad oval here, it's usually a pretty big hit with the way the wall is kind of angled. And so for Davenport, got to think that that's most likely going to end his night. All right, nonetheless, as we will turn our attention now back to the front. Field making their way back out after pit stops, and it's Ethan Eckert who's being scored as your leader. A couple of cars trying to get their lap back right there. Looks like that might be James Wagner and I believe Brian Hennings. Two drivers that are going to be trying to get back on the lead lap via the free pass. I think they'll get it here. And so you've got Ethan Eckert being scored as your leader. Christopher McCullough second. Freddie Bosnez in third. And then Daniel Falkingham fourth, and Matthew Zwack currently rounding out your top five. Well, how about this? Thomas Parker with a $5 super chat says, great as always. Thomas, we certainly appreciate it. And I was going to mention this earlier, but we just got back on green. Thomas Parker said in the chat, or was it here? Yep. Heading to Hattiesburg in the morning to chase tornadoes back to Georgia. Well, Thomas, you must have a pretty good amount of experience, because I'm pretty sure a lot of storm chasers would be pretty scared. You know a lot more than me. I certainly would not be testing it tomorrow, but nonetheless, it's going to be a wild couple of days. Like I said, the southeast especially. Not necessarily tomorrow, but the day after for the southeast. Going to see some stuff that I don't think we've seen in quite a while, so it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out, but nonetheless, as we get ready to get back to green flag racing with lights off on the pace car. Again, everybody in the fuel window now, and it looks like it's going to be right around 25 laps to go when we grab the green, so not that much time, and this is where the aggression really starts to pick up. Drivers are going to start to get really, really aggressive now. And so just before we get back going green, how about another Devin Ray with the $10 super chat? Says, I'll see you, Parker, and raise you. Devin with the $13 total super chat / sticker here tonight. Devin, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, 65 and 90 laps in the books. Baker, what are you expecting here for this final restart?
Hopefully no more chaos. We had a good little run there. We've had a couple good runs in this car. Would like to see it play out here, but Nightmare going to lead 1-2 top and bottom with two pros, one former pro, pushing both respective lines. That is Daniel Falkingham and Matthew Zwack. Garrett Main's going to be pushing on the outside, and Landon Velicki, we haven't said his name much, but he's at Auburn 62 as we take the green flag.
Green flag back in the air. 25 laps to go here at Atlanta, and it's a good restart up front for about the first 6 to 8 cars at the moment. Ethan Eckert with the lead on the outside. Him and Bosnez, two teammates, and kind of wingman to each other. But about Garrett Maines in the one, you saw right there some major front end damage to the front grille of his race car. And so as he will try to get that sorted out, well, I say sorted out, looks like that car still got pretty good speed, so he may not have to worry about it. Further back, though, Evan Karlbahn, he's trying to get something going now as he gets a bit of a run geared up with Colin Bowden, Daniel Eberhardt in the 82, pushing behind him.
Sorry, we just got some big, I'm not talking about the race, we just got some big super chaps from my mom, $20 and $19.99 and $9.99 out there in the chat. That's awesome.
That is awesome. I didn't even notice that. Baker's mom with the $10 super chat, and then the second super chat. Baker, you got to tell her she's got to say something with it. You can't just drop $30 and not say anything along with it. Man, Baker's mom, we certainly appreciate that. One of the people that is always tuning in, so thank you very much for that. 3 wide, though, now, out back. How about this? On the bottom. 4. Oh, man, almost 4. That's not going to work. Nathan Harper in the middle. Big wiggle. Jackson buys in the 33. He's going to slip up as well. Now they're going to start to squeeze down the backstretch. They ping-pong off of each other, but everybody all holds on. Oh, my goodness. Man, that got really, really sketchy. They're still 3 wide, but it looks like they've kind of calmed it down just a little bit. And if they stay 3 wide for too long, they're getting organized up front. Eckert, Bosnez, Falkingham, Maines, and Zwack, they might have a chance to try to sneak away here from everybody.
Trying to sneak away. Kevin Freeze here through the middle, trying to get down towards guest side, draft him back. He'll be stuck in the middle, gets back up to the top side. But Ethan Eckert, Freddie Bosnez leading here, and Matthew Zwack trying to make his move to the front. So is Falkingham there on the bottom side. We're going to be 2 by 2 exiting 4.
2 by 2 with 21 laps remaining here at Atlanta. Daniel Falkingham continues to lead, looking for another PGR win. Matthews whack up here as well, and further back, now Kevin Free is going to find himself as the odd man out. And as they stay 2x2, they get 3x3 further back. The 4 of Nathan Harper. Man, I don't know if he's choosing to go to the middle, but it seems like that's where we find him every time we pan the cameras back here towards the middle of the pack. And for everybody else, Baker, including this...
Man.
We have trouble
Ethan
up front.
Eckert, sorry to cut you off. Ethan Eckert almost lost it. Freddie Bosnez into the back of Ethan Eckert. Everyone just squirrely out here. The track tent at 145. This track is cooking right now.
Yeah, it is. And let's look at that replay right there.
Oh,
Eckert,
forward. Ain't gonna work.
big wiggle, and now back live. 4 wide. Cautions out. They wreck out back. The 75, Nick Seipel's involved. And here comes the rest of the field arriving on scene here. They're all going to try to miss it. We got one hard into the inside wall. Was that Freddie Bosnez? Couldn't tell actually who that was. It might have been Kenny Reel. Yes, it was. Evan Carlbon involved as well. And so as it stands right now, you got the 11 of Kenny Reel and Evan Carlbon. That's 2 Jack Shack drivers involved in this incident. Looks like the 03 Ken McCullough Jr. gets involved as well. All right. Let's see here what happens. Back this up a little bit more. And as they come off the corner, you heard Baker scream 4 wide. And when you hear that here, yeah, it's basically the same as saying we got a caution right here. Bowden trying to go 4 wide. He's trying to split between Kevin Freeze and the 24, I believe. And I could be wrong here. I'll see if I can verify this. But I believe that might be Stephen Miles. Let's see if we can confirm that for sure. Yep, sure enough, Stephen Miles in the 24. And so... right here, Bowden's just going to try to split the gap. Baker's already not a lot of room to do it, and I say there wasn't a lot of room. I would say there was basically no room to do it, and that's just kind of an unfortunate incident. Steven may be creeping up a little, Baker, but, I mean, 4 wide is basically everybody can't move an inch or there's going to be contact, which is exactly what happened right there, and Stephen Miles, Kevin Freeze kind of get turned into each other. That sends Freeze down. He takes a huge hit off the inside wall. He actually, I think, gets the most damage of anybody. And then Carlbon, and looks like the 52 as well right there. Pretty big hit. So a lot of tough breaks right here. See some of the damage some of these cars took. And it's starting to become a battle of attrition, it feels like. You know, I don't know, Baker, with the way things are trending right now. This may be a race of who's got the cleanest car at the end. See if we can go back and figure out exactly who it was in the 52. I think it was Christopher Melton. Let's see. Yeah, sure enough, it was Chris Melton right here. 52. And as they come off the corner. He's just an innocent bystander, but as he tries to go top, Carlbon gets tagged, and boy, it kind of feels like Evan Carlbon has been one of the drivers who just can't seem to catch a break. As of recent, obviously involved in that one, but I think getting the worst of it, it's got to be Kevin Freeze. And let's see this here for Kevin Freeze as he's going to get tagged. And then just, bam, huge hit. Bounces off the inside safer barrier. The 11 slides Kenny Reel. I don't think he really gets much damage, though. I think he's more so just kind of along for the slide, if you will. And one more view of this here before we go back live from kind of that turn 2 straight on point of view. Kevin Freeze, look at this. Bam! Massive, massive hit into that inside wall. And then as he starts to sneak back out, and Carlbon get together, up into the wall they go. All right, so as we go back live now, 17 laps to go. Get ready to go back green. Kyler Wynn being scored as your leader. Michael Guest in second. Matthew Zwack third, Daniel Falkingham fourth, and Freddie Bosnez rounding out your top 5. Well, in the chat, I saw Lisa W. says, just wanted to see if you were still reading the chat. Absolutely. Well, it's always a good thing to check. I'll tell you what, Lisa, certainly try, but I think sometimes if I read the chat too much, I find myself starting to get engaged in all the craziness you guys start to talk about sometimes. Seems like every time I look over, Devin's betting somebody on if we're going to get another caution. Or something of that nature. Nonetheless, though, I try to stay focused the best I can on the race, but sometimes, believe me, we're always reading the chat. Even if we're not saying anything, we're certainly always reading the chat. And always fun to see what you guys are writing in the chat. All right, here we go. Back to it. 16 laps to go. Baker, what you got? Who you got winning this one?
The pace car is winning right now, but Kyler has done a pretty great job here as he takes the green flag. I think Zwack has been the class of the field with Falkingham as well. So if those two get hooked up again, I think they're going to be really, really hard to beat.
Yeah, it's been that way so far. But what I do think is 60 laps to go. You've got arguably one of the most aggressive blockers out in front. And good luck if you think you're just going to sneak right by Kyler Wynn here. And obviously Falkingham going to have some work if he wants to get back with that 18 car, because one's on the bottom and one's buried 2 cars deep on the top. But nonetheless, still 2x2 up front. Really, at this point, Baker, if you're in the top 10, it's pretty organized. If you're outside the top 10, it is chaos, separation. Near Rex is right there. We're going to get another wreck. Just as I named it, 2 around. The 60 of Merck's involved. He'll slide. Can he keep it off the track? He does, but it still draws the caution anyway. And nonetheless, we will now see what is our 7th caution of the night. And I would say that was a pretty good pick, Baker, with the pace car. He's certainly going to keep the streak going for now. And this is what this is what I was just getting ready to mention. And well, heck, since we got another caution, this is going to raise kind of another topic of discussion. Why not, right? We've heard this getting talked about as of recent. It seems like more and more now when you get into these last, 10, 15, 20 laps of a race, depending on obviously the track. Say this was Daytona or Talladega. Maybe you wouldn't see this yet. And obviously I'm not saying this is what caused the wreck, so we'll break this down first. But it's the idea of the guys in the back focus on getting way too aggressive racing each other, that you end up not only losing the pack, but causing all these wrecks in the back. And it gets frustrating, obviously, for the leaders because they can't really race. And so just another thing that's kind of been a problem that's been getting worked on. But right here, I think that's Michael Wingo here. And I don't know if he just misjudges it, Baker, or doesn't see that he's got a turn, but he's going to go pretty much straight into the outside wall here. Now, these quad ovals, and I will say this, I've had this same issue that Michael Wingo has right here before. And these quad ovals, you can't wait until you're at the kink and then turn the wheel left. It doesn't work like that. You have to kind of turn into the kink. And you can see right there that Michael Wingo doesn't do that. He waits until he gets into the kink, tries to turn, and car just basically goes straight on him. And when that happens, obviously nothing you can do, but you got to feel for Jeff Merck here. It's been a rough night, Baker, but he finally got all that damage clean. Was trying to get back up here to see if he could still work on his head-to-head battle, and gets pretty much taken right back out of it. Now he's going to have to go fix some damage yet again. And I guess, you could say the good news for Jeff Merck would be, well, is the guy that he's racing back here as well? The answer is no. Freddie Bosnett is still at the front, so things not really going the way of Jeff Merck right now, as that incident ultimately ends up only collecting 2 cars. Give you one or two more looks at this here. First from the TV tower view. Look at that. That's a hard shot. When you hit the wall that aggressive, you're going to bounce off of it. And obviously for Wingo. And, James Wagner didn't even see that initially. Another guy having a tough night there, and then clips the pit road cone, so that may give him a forced penalty where even if race control clears it, it still makes him go to the back. Just seems like when you have a tough night at these super speedways, things get tougher now. Okay, well, this is a little interesting here. I didn't quite notice this on first glance. Let's go to the chopper view. Watch Garrett Mange jump right up in front of Wingo, who's getting pushed by Jeff Merck off the corner. So Garrett does throw a bit of a block on Wingo, but that's not really what causes him to go into the outside wall. So I'm going to take back any suspicions of anything else that could have caused that one right there, as we turn our attention now back live where we've gotten the 1-to-go signal. We'll try this again with 11 laps to go. Zwack and Kyler Wynn up front leading the way. Then you've got Daniel Eberhardt and Michael Guest, row 2. Falkingham and Sean English. Sean English, man, he went from a lap down to now back towards the front of the field. How about that for Sean English?
Yeah, and he's only run 2 money races in PGR, and he has won both of them. So the only one out here with 100% win rates, and trying to go 3 for 3, a little bit tougher with the cars that are in front of you. You got Kyler Wynn, Matthew Zwack, Michael Guest, Daniel Falkingham, Daniel Eberhardt. It's going to be tough. Can the Georgia boy get it done? And Daniel Eberhardt, he loves this track. I know he loves coming here in real life, and he does like driving around this in the virtual world.
See what happens. Tell you what, if I was Sean English, though, if he wins this third one, he needs to retire. I'd go down right there in the Hall of Fame and call it a career. This guy has been on fire on the PGR side of things, but it's going to have some work to do here. And I don't think we're done with cautions just yet. I think if we're going to get one, it's probably going to be 10th on back. Seems like that's been the way things have been trending. Nonetheless, though, we're about at 10 laps to go. It's been a crazy one all night. Couple chances at green flag pit stops, but we didn't get one. 3 wide, had some of that. A lot of wrecks, we've had plenty of those. And now hoping to see a phenomenal finish. Green flag back in the air. Great jump for both Kyler Wynn and Michael Guest. They're going to pull clear before they even get down to the banking in turn number 1. And as they do so, they quickly jump up to the top of the racetrack. What will Zwack do? Does he stay up top or does he try to jump down low and get with the 39 of Falkingham? Those two have been lights out when they've been doing up, but the bottom has no run. Everybody up top. Falkingham's going to fall. Now he gets split. Wow. Jones splits. Falkingham, the 39, is going to go all the way to the back of this pack, but up front, Kyler Wynn leads him off of 4.
I don't know what's wrong with Falkingham's car. I don't know if maybe he didn't take tires. What's going on there? But really, really close call there. Ethan Eckert going to go below the red line there.
Have to see if that's a penalty for Eckert. Didn't actually see how far down he went. Obviously, the rule, and we didn't even mention this, Baker, earlier, was you can't go below that line to advance your position. And let's see, we'll watch it back one time quickly here. There's Eckert. And as they get down here, follows York, doesn't advance position there, but then it's right there. Ooh, it's going to be an interesting call. Good luck with that one, Baker. That was close. It definitely did look like he went under. Nonetheless, though, up front, still 2x2, and now here comes Daniel Eberhardt. Dylan Jones, Bosnez got all the way back to the front. Eberhardt jumped down in front of him, and we are now 2x2 for the lead as Jones moves off the track into 3.
Yeah, Eckert gets into the back of him, and he gets all sorts of squirrely.
And they split Freddie Bosnez, too. In the middle, Eberhardt's going to try to stick with him, but Jones ditches him. And now the 60 waiting for help. He'll get some from the 12 of Ethan Eckert. Just 7.5 laps to go when they work onto the backstretch. Nathan Harper up top. A lot of cars starting to get tight here, Baker. I'm seeing a couple guys wash it up into the outside wall off the corners.
You see Sean Ingles, he drives down to the bottom. He's got Daniel Eberhardt behind him with Dylan Jones and teammates Kyler Wynn. But will he block the bottom? Because those are fresh temps and fresh tires on the bottom side. Sean English, he's going to get a push. But we have said that you can dip 2 tires below the double red line. And it looks like he was kind of forced there as well with Logan York pushing Ethan Eckert. So we're going to call that a clean pass by Ethan Eckert. But she shuffled all the way to the back. It was misfortunate for both of them. And Sean English back out front here. He's going to get split 3 wide, though, with no help. Here comes Guest. Here comes Whack. Nothing's going to happen, though. Oh, Dylan Jones all out of shape. Sean English trying to clear back to the middle. He does.
And now it's going to be, can they find a way to split the 82 of Kyler Wynn? Whoa, watch out, Falkingham. Jones contact.
Oh.
Jones trying to save it. It looks like he does as he works back up. Eckert trying to line him up for a push. The bottom going to lose some momentum. That was actually Veliky who had to catch him for the push. But up front, if you're Kyler Wynn here, Baker, I don't know, with as many moves as we're seeing be made on the leaders, I almost feel like he's got to be a sitting duck, but he knows how to block here, and we're going to be coming to 5 laps to go. 1 in the wall. That's Seipel in the 75.
He gets spit out on line. Everyone trying to avoid him on the bottom, doing a great job, but still 2x2 up front. Kyler Wynn getting a push from Michael Guest. Not much Eberhardt can do here with Falkingham, and you can see when they come down for that side draft, it really upsets the front car, makes them really, really tight off the bottom. But John Ward, he's making his way back up here. I think he has the freshest tires of anyone. Look at the run that he gets to Nathan Harper.
2x2 as they work off of turn 4. 4 laps to go here at Atlanta. Remember, if they make it to the white flag, this race will be official. Eckert looking to split John Ward into the corner. Looks like he's going to be able to do it. Ethan Eckert trying to gain some more positions on the bottom. Landon Veliky is going to go with him for the moment. Still 3 wide further back, but 2x2 up front. Daniel Eberhardt trying to see if he can go to the lead as they climb the banking into turn number 3. Daniel Falkingham sticking with him. And man, where did Falkingham come from? After going all the way to the back, has made his way back to the front just in time. 3 laps to go.
John Ward shuffled all the way to the back after he was in 8th the last lap. He got hung out by Ethan Eckert. Pushed him all the way back to about 20th position. Can't believe that he was pushed all the way back there.
As we look at our TV tower view, the run's now really starting to set up out back. This is where things are going to get chaotic. People are starting to get desperate. The gaps are starting to close up now. But up front, Landon Veliky in the 62. He's not done yet. He'll look 3 wide again. Bies is going to try to close the gap. Garrett's going to get into him. They're going to wreck. Are they going to save it? No. Zwack down the track. They're going to wreck. Caution is out.
Huge. Oh,
big wreck.
man.
Man, 3 massive hits right there. One of them was Zwack. Looked like Jeff Merck may have been one of the others. Dylan Jones, the hood of that race car is up in the air. A 45 machine of Peyton Strickland has a lot of damage as well. So this may take out a few more hitters after what we had already seen earlier. All right, let's go back and look at it here. See if we can figure out exactly what went wrong right here. I think I have an idea, but figured I'd hold my opinion until we actually see it back live. Or I guess I should say obviously on replay. Let's go back here. I think this is going to start with somebody trying to take a gap clear that they were not clear. And Garrett was behind whoever that was. And I don't think Garrett appreciated it as he shouldn't this late in the race. Let's see if that was indeed the case. There's the 33 Bies. Garrett's got to run. Well, Bies initially goes down, and I take that back. It's just a checkup. Bies initially goes down. I would argue that Bies has that position where he's at, 100%. Or he goes down a lane lower, if that makes sense, in the sense of I don't think Bies actually did anything wrong there. From the front camera view, it looked like he was trying to squeeze in late. But then when we look at it from this chopper view, you can see it's just right as he gets down, there's a checkup. And Garrett has nothing he can do. I mean, Garrett's obviously got big momentum, a lot of speed, and just tags the back of the 33. No way to really check up that quickly when you've got that big of a run. You can see Garrett fire out of the pipes. He was trying everything to check up, but just that slight contact into the 33 gets him into Zonto. Gets a couple people on the bottom loose, but they actually all save it. It's the 33 getting shot up the track right here into the left front of Zwack. That gets him into the 45 of Peyton Strickland, and that's when the wreck's on from there.
Oh, and Michael Toscaro looks like he passes Christopher McCullough in the stand. I mean, Michael Toscaro's had a destroyed race car this entire time. How did he get in front of Christopher McCullough? Was Christopher McCullough involved in that wreck?
I'll have to go back and look at it. Very well could have been. This was a big one. There's the onboard view for Garrett Maines, and show you that one more time here. Listen to the throttle.
Oh, and he was.
Here he's burping the throttle. He's trying everything. He's not trying to turn him, but just unfortunately the way things work out there. And then, yeah, now as we'll go back to a broader view, Christopher McCullough, here's the onboard view first. And trying to split the gap. Looks like he's got it. And then, man, right there gets tagged and unfortunately goes up into the wall. But we said it at the start, Baker. So many drivers, you can be as good as you want. Get to the front as many times as you want. But if you don't have luck in making it through one of these wrecks, you get collected. That could be all it takes. And Toscaro may have a lot of damage, but if Christopher McCullough has more and loses more track position here, it doesn't matter. And with some of the hits he took right here, I'm going to say he probably does. Watch this. Ward, Zwack, and that was the 36, Andrew Zonto, who I initially thought cleared it. Him and Merck both take massive, massive hits. But for Zonto here, I'm interested to see how he got collected because it looked like he initially made it through. And by the way, just as a little fun fact, you think iRacing, you think everybody's on steering wheels. Don't forget, Andrew Zonto's playing this on an Xbox or a PlayStation controller. I still don't know how that's possible, but nonetheless, watch this here for Andrew Zonto. As you're going to see, this was after that incident. Right there's that initial incident. He saves it, goes low. He's okay here. Ooh, but then as the 33 Bies is trying to gather it back up, him and the 32, I think that's Ethan Collier, get together. They go down, get into the 36, and look at this hit. Oh, my goodness. All 4 tires up into the air. And then Jeff Merck, look at that car, get up into the air as well. Some big, big hits in this one here to put us under caution, Baker, for what? I don't know, the 10th time?
We've had quite a few cautions. There's been some great racing. Looks like we've had about 5 cautions. Actually, 6 cautions tonight, so it's a lot of wrecks, but still some good racing going on.
Absolutely. All right, well, back up front. Let's try it again. This time, though, it'll be an overtime attempt. Green-white checker number 1, Kyler Wynn, Michael Guest, 2-lap shootout to decide it. Here we go. Green flag back in the air at Atlanta. It's a good restart for the inside. The outside checks up a bit, but it looks like everybody's going to keep it clean as they work down towards turn number 1. I'm starting to see more and more damaged cars out back. Can we make it to the white flag? Not a chance. Wrecking out back. We'll see if this draws the caution. Yes, it does. And Michael Triscaro is involved in this one. You hope for Triscaro's sake here, the damage isn't too bad. He was able to loop it around and keep going. But guess what, Baker? Now that puts Christopher McCullough back in front of Michael Triscaro.
Yeah, I don't know what these guys are doing on the restart here. It starts literally at the start-finish line, and they keep going all the way through the quad oval.
And here we go. Back it up for you. Just watch right here. There it starts. Jackson buys the turn to go the middle. Brian Henning says, yeah, I don't think so. And then, you know, this is tough. Let's go back here and watch this again from the 33. See if there's a, you know, I saw a bit of a checkup on the outside initially, right? So I'm wondering if maybe that partially has to do with why Jackson buys was 3 wide before they're anywhere close to turn number 1. Let's see if that's the case. Here's the onboard view for Jackson buys. I just hit the restart zone. There you go. A little bit of a checkup, and well, he technically goes down before they even get to the start-finish line. I don't even know if, I'm not sure if that counts as the switching lanes or if, you know, whatever the deal is. Again, I get it. It's at the end, but it just shows kind of the, I don't know how I want to put it at this point. I guess, I don't know if you want to call it lack of respect. I mean, Bai's obviously a great driver, but I just think you got to kind of ask yourself, I mean, what are you doing here splitting Brian Hennings? If Brian would have known the 33 was trying to split him, he just jerks the wheel down right here and will wreck him. Instead, I think he assumes that maybe the 33 will cut him a little bit of a break. But, you know, okay, no harm, no foul. If we want to play 3 wide, let's play 3 wide. But then, I mean, all this after, once you're 3 wide, you guys got to give each other some room. They just don't. Eventually, they get together and pile them all up in the back.
Unfortunate for sure for Michael Triscaro as well. Now going to be starting around Christopher McCullough, who doesn't have near as much damage. But, I mean, he took a shot in his last wreck. I don't know how he doesn't have more damage. But I'm going to get another green-white checkered start here, second of 3. And Tyler, I got to run with him in NRN America, and we went 1-2 in the Gen 6 in Atlanta, so I know he knows how to get around this place. John English doing a great job, so is Everhart, so is Guest, and Falkingham making his way back up. Zwack, another one trying to make his way back up after being involved in that wreck two times ago, back in 14th place. Garrett Means and Colin Bowden just around there as well.
Absolutely. And again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You are watching the Elite 8 third round of March Madness 2025 for the Intimidator Super Speedway Series, presented by PGR eSports. All right, well, as we get ready to get back to green flag racing, let's go over here and take a look at what these payouts are looking like tonight. Those were your bracket matchups. We showed you those earlier, but here's what the payouts are looking like. First place taking home $300. Second will be $230. $200 to third, $150 to fourth, $130 to fifth, and then obviously the extra bonus, the $55 to the highest finishing PGR driver without a PGR win outside of the money. So a lot of ways to win here in PGR. If you're interested, we do have the the link to the Discord in the description of this video, so make sure that you do check that out. Well, boy, you talk about rough nights and everything in between. Trevor Osronoth, boy, the nights seemed to start off rough for him. Damage before the race even began. Well, here he is now in 21st, which is still pretty far back. However, the way things are going, I wouldn't say it's impossible yet for that 89 machine to maybe make a comeback and see if he can't get himself back up here towards the front. And then obviously the other man to keep an eye on, Michael Triscaro, both him and Christopher McCullough battling each other for that final, well, not final transfer spot, but one of the transfer spots into the next round of the bracket tournament. And they're basically side by side, both cars with damage. And it might be which one can make it through this crazy last lap wreck that we could very well see the way things are going. Well, 9 cautions. The race was 90 laps scheduled. I'll let you do the math just in case you don't feel like it. That is a caution on average about every 10 laps. And remember, we have pace laps on top of that. So, moral of the story, we haven't ran green too much here tonight But we've got an opportunity to run it green to the finish. Here we go. Green-white checkered attempt number 2. Green flag back in the air at Atlanta. And it's a good restart for the 82 of Kyler Wynn. Baker, he was your pick. And immediately him and Guest line up the same way they did in the previous restart. They get lined up and they go to the top. Eberhard, nothing to do yet. Him and Sean English working together as well right here. Ooh, Eberhard's looking. He's trying to grab the side draft. He's got to commit. Here comes Falkingham. Now tonight he's going to dive to the bottom into 3.
He's going to get a big shot, though, through 3 and 4. Jackson Bye's going to dive up for his penalty, but we're coming out of 4 for the final time here. Big push on the outside from Michael Guest, but 2x2, white flag. Daniel Eberhard leads there.
Daniel Eberhard led that lap, but will he lead him back to the checkered? Final time into turn number 1. 3x3 is how they stack up right now, inside versus outside. The top starts to fade. Eberhard's got a clearing, but he's going to stay tucked to the bottom. Watch out up back. Veliky gets out of shape. They're going to wreck out back. It'll come down to a 2 versus 2 tandem. They're going to have to side draft on the outside. Kyler Wynn, Michael Guest. They've got the lineup. Eberhard on the inside. Drag race back to the checkered. Kyler Wynn wins it at Atlanta.
Colin Bowden gets around Landon Veliky there right at the end. Gets the position, and he will advance on to the Final 4.
Man, oh man. What a chaotic finish that one was. No surprise, though, your winner, Kyler Wynn, with the great run he has. And actually, it looks like it was Brock Westmoreland versus Colin Bowden in this round. And so, looks like Brock finished back earlier, but I know what you were referring to, Baker. So nonetheless now, as we go back up front, we're going to have to go back and look at this finish. I mean, that's about as classic of a finish as it can come down to in the sense of a 2x2 tandem, but it's certainly interesting there. You know, I'm kind of surprised that Eberhard didn't try to drag the brake to get back hooked up with Falkingham right there off of 4.
Yeah, I just think you get focused too far out on the windshield and not really looking behind you to see where the run's coming from. And you really needed to stack it up and try and get it there. But wasn't able to make it happen.
And yeah, from that TV tower view, you can see Kyler Wynn up top, both him and Michael Guest. I mean, they're just locked on the whole way. You can't really compete against that at a drafting track. And it's close for Eberhard. Comes up maybe a quarter of a car short, but overall, a great run from these top 4. No surprise to see the guys that finished on the podium and the guys that finished in the money overall.
Oh my goodness! Sorry to cut you off, but if we gotta go back and look at Michael Triscaro there. He's going into turn 3 way in front of Christopher McCullough. He's checking up. Oh my goodness! And Evan Carbone just gets into the back of Michael Triscaro and gets into Sean English. And then once that happens, he's trying to keep it going through, and Axel Smith puts it down onto his bumper, and Christopher McCullough gets him around and almost gets him back to the line, and Christopher McCullough still gets it.
Let's see here. There you see him starting to check up. Carl Bond says it's the last lap. I don't think so, Mike. Gets into the back of him, sends him up the track. And I'll tell you what, that benefited Carl Bond because it got him slowed up enough to miss the wreck. And Triscaro gets back down, and there's that contact that you talked about from Axel Smith. And man, Triscaro just got used up as a punching bag on that last lap. I mean, you would almost think guys were trying to hit him the way they drove through right there. You know, at this point, I know everybody's fighting for position, but this is obviously Axel Smith. I get it because, you know, he's trying to see if he can get his head-to-head battle. But by that point, Colin Bowden already crossed the line. The money positions all already crossed the line. You certainly wonder why some of these guys are just absolutely flooring it, not even trying to miss. But then right there, as you said, Triscaro, unfortunate ending to it. He's not going to be too happy, I'm sure, with Evan Carlbahn after that one. Can't blame him, but last lap, we know how things kind of go in those situations, Baker. Everybody, I think the general consensus, whether you like it or not, is a lot of people believe last lap, it's full gas, no lift at super speedways. And you can see Carlbahn could see the wreck here, but just gets in the back of Triscaro. That was all it took. All right, so nonetheless, as we go back live, before we grab your top 3, taking a look at your finishing results here tonight. Your race winner, Kyler Wynn, the Canadian, takes home the W here tonight. In second, it'll be Daniel Eberhard with Michael Guest back in third. You've got Daniel Falkingham finishing in fourth. Colin Bowden rounds out your top 5. Landon Veliky back in sixth with Ethan Eckert, 7th. Garrett Maines in 8th. Matthew Zwack in 9th, and Steven Miles for Nightmare Esports rounds out your top 10.
And in 11th, sorry, still handling some race control things with Nathan Harper. In 11th, Kenny Reel. In 12th, Joshua McCullough. 13th, 14th, Brock Westman. Ethan Collier, 15th. 16th, Nick Seipel. Trevor Osborne, 17th. Freddie Bosnaz, 18th. 19th, Brian Hennings and Kenneth McCullough round out your top 20.
Chris Melton for R&R finishes 21st. James Wagner 22nd, with Michael Wingo in 23rd. Evan Carlbon finishes 24th. Axel Smith 25th. Christopher McCullough 26th. Michael Triscaro 27th. Andrew Zonto back in 28th. And it's going to be rounding out the top 30 here tonight. Sean English and Jackson Budge. Jeff Merck finishes 31st. Logan York 32nd, with Peyton Strickland 33rd. John Ward 34th. Dylan Jones 35th. Kevin Fries in 36th. And you've got Matt Lee 37th. Mike Davenport behind him in 38th, with Hunter Hastings and Austin Floyd rounding out your top 40. Miles Bagley finishes 41st. Jared Haynes 42nd. It's going to be Chris D.A. back in 43rd. And then you've got Steve Sizemore rounding out the field tonight. He finishes in 44th. All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Atlanta. All right, and we're going to go ahead and start first here tonight with your race winner. And that is the 82 machine, Kyler Wynn. Kyler, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yep.
Well, no surprise to see in victory lane. This is not your first win in PGR, and certainly not going to be the last. But, man, at the end there, it kind of came down to a classic drag race, 2 versus 2. And we were sitting here talking about, we wondered why Daniel Eberhard didn't try to drag back to Falkingham. And it made me start wondering, up top, what was going through your mind right there when you saw the field wreck out back? Did you have to drag back at all, or was the momentum just there and you were able to ride it?
Oh, man, we just had all the momentum in the world. Mike never lifted. I don't know how he, his car had a ton of rotation, so he was able to stay connected with me. That's ultimately, I think the top lane is better for the pusher in terms of how much it plows. I know going to 3 there, Falkingham plowed, and from there, I pretty much knew I had won. Mike was committed to my bumper.
Well, it was another,
Yeah,
I was going to say, it was another pretty dominant performance from you up front in general, but we saw you make a couple of bold moves there trying to find some help. How important was it to be able to find the help that you needed there at the end with, of course, Michael Guest?
It's all random at the end of the day. Like, the lanes, how they worked out. First and third ended up being the best because I would count them down on the restart and we both clear up, and that would just kill the bottom lane. And that's what happened there on the last restart. But yeah, it just worked out. Mike's a great pusher. I'm glad, I had him behind me. I don't think I'd want anybody else in the race besides him. But hey, win number 6. I looked at the stats a couple weeks ago and I told myself I could be the first one to 10 wins, and that's what I'm going for. So it's in the cards.
Yeah, and rest assured, if we had a Hall of Fame here at PGR, I think you might be first ballot. But nonetheless, to round out another win here tonight for you, Kyler, before we let you head out, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just Steven Miles and Michael Guest. Steven got taken out in a mid-race wreck, but he was a great help early on. And Factory Soaps on the car.
As always, Kyler, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the race win, and we will see you next week.
Yep, thank you.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher, Daniel Eberhard. Daniel, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, man, you bring home a second place finish, a great run for you, but there at the end, you come up just a little bit short. We had a couple of ideas of what might have worked, but before we bring those up, what do you think you could have done more, if anything, right there at the end?
Nothing. I kind of was really relying on Daniel Falkenham. He was the D&D show at the bottom, right? So it was just I really relied on him, and he did a great job pushing me. Luckily, he finished in the money, and there was a big wreck behind us. Kind of broke us all up, and then, it's weird because the second guy on the bottom gets a heck of a lot more side draft on the right side than the leader does. So I didn't get pulled back as much. I probably could have shot lower going through the travel, but you're kind of just sitting there like, I'm good with second, like I have that mentality. As long as I finish in the money, it's not a waste of my time. So it just was a fun race all around. I love Atlanta. And you did a heck of a job on the broadcast just watching the last few laps now.
We certainly appreciate it. And yeah, that was the next question I was going to bring you to, Daniel. Obviously, a home track, a track that you've got to go see in real life, and obviously racing the sim. How much more does it mean when you can have a good finish at a track like Atlanta?
Oh, it means a lot. I love Atlanta. I think it's the best track on the NASCAR circuit right now. For some reason, it just puts on a great show. I wish iRacing would fix the dotted lines, like where it goes around the whole track. I think that would be a lot better for people. The track is a hard track, period. And so the talent-wise really goes to the top. But I feel like if you had the lines showing where you could put your car, it would be a little bit different. It's already a tight racetrack, but it would make it a lot easier for people to tell where they are on the racetrack, because a lot of us just, we get that tunnel vision and we're always paying attention to the guy just ahead of us. So that other guy could be 2 wide and you 3 wide and you're just dooring each other. There was a lot of that going on tonight, but really wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad race at all.
No, a lot of cautions, but overall, it's still great racing when we had it. And obviously, a good finish. You lose it by about half a car length, but man, to round out a good finish for you here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, you do a phenomenal job. I mean, you're a hell of a race car driver too, or sim car driver. That's what, But I mean, I wish you were out there each and every week. You're always at the front with us, so I know it's got to be like, but you're making money doing this, so hey, more power to you. I mean, that's guaranteed money sitting up here. But also Baker for doing a heck of a job race controlling. I know it was tough tonight just with a bunch of glitches. Thank you to the people who watch every week, and thank you to my hot-ass wife who lets me do this each and every week.
Daniel, thank you for talking to us. Yeah, I think I probably have more top 5 finishes in the booth than I do on the actual racetrack. But hey, we appreciate you talking to us, and we will see you next week.
See you, buddy.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your third place finisher, the Coke Series driver, Michael Guest. Michael, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Well, you bring home a third place finish here tonight, and man, I feel like it's one of the first times we've seen you here in a few weeks in PGR, and right back from where you left off, you finished on the podium here tonight, and you stay committed to Kyler Wynn. He told us a little bit about you were committed. When did you guys work together? Was the plan before the race to stick together, or did it kind of work out there at the end?
Yeah, I have a few guys that I generally try to work with in this series, especially with the level of competition these days. So if I see Kyler when Malik was racing here, if I see them in a race, I'm generally trying to work with them. So it just kind of worked out, though, by the end of the race that, we both ended up front. Kind of like I was just saying, this competition is so tough, you can't really just go out and make a move and hope people follow you, because there's a lot of people working together in here. So you got to kind of choose your battles wisely, and it's so hard to finish in the money in this stuff. If you look at the top 5, like this could be like a top 5 in like a Coke race. Kyler and Daniel may not have like a pro stripe, but they're definitely like top 5 on super speedway drivers. So yeah, definitely just getting to the end of the race and just trying to finish in the money is a huge goal, especially since I think I'm still looking for my first win in the series, at least in the actual PGR series. So yeah, I call it a successful day whenever I can get into the money at the end of it. So definitely happy with that.
Absolutely, and getting closer to that first win with a good run here tonight. Now I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball because you brought up the Coke Series, and I think a lot of people watching at home kind of wonder. Everybody gets a chance to watch kind of the best of both worlds when you guys go to super speedways, and then obviously when we only do super speedways here at PGR. How do you compare the racing at a track like Atlanta, where both you've raced in it in the Coke Series and in PGR? What's different? What's the same? And obviously the big question, which one do you feel like is more difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when it comes to that, because kind of like I was saying, some of these guys may not have like an actual pro stripe right now, but they're much better than a lot of the guys that are in Coke that never race super speedways. So I always consider, whether it's Atlanta or Talladega or Daytona, the stuff that we have to do in this series is just, I mean, it's either on the same level or more tough than the Coke series. I feel like I'm always in the top 5 at the end of the Coke races at super speedways, and here I find myself in 15th a lot of times in the last 10 laps. So when I look at it like that, I'm like, this stuff is definitely tough, and I'm surprised that we keep the level of competition that we do in the series, week to week being like a pay to enter series. And honestly, it's really cool to see every week that I jump in here that the competition, if anything, just grows each time.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, we appreciate you talking to us here tonight. So before we let you head out to go celebrate the winnings, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I mean, just, you guys for the broadcast, PGR themselves, all the guys that are involved in this super speedway stuff. I used to do this stuff like 15 years ago with another guy that used to run, in these kind of like money races, and the community kind of fell off for a while. So the last few years, it's definitely a cool thing to see it be, if anything, a nightly thing anymore.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, again, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the third place finish, and hopefully we'll see you again here next week.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. Baker had to head out pretty quickly, but I can look at some of these battles here since now we're down to kind of the smaller end of the bracket. See if I can give you an unofficial idea of what the Final Four is going to be looking like. And let's see here. Just based off initial results, from what I can see, it looks like Freddie Bosnez outduels Jeff Merck, so he will be advancing to the Final Four for that matchup. Colin Bowden got the best of Brock Westmoreland, so he will be advancing to the Final Four from that matchup. Then between Michael Triscaro, Christopher McCullough got the best of that one. And then you go to the Garrett Maines versus Axel Smith battle. Garrett Maines got the best of that. So your Final Four unofficially, Garrett Maines, Christopher McCullough, Colin Bowden, and Freddie Bosnez, who will battle it out next week. Well, another great race here tonight. A lot of fun. And as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. And again, if you live in the areas that are going to be affected by severe weather over the next couple days, even if you don't like weather, please do me a favor and keep an eye on it the next couple days. Just keep yourself safe. Be aware. It's going to be a nasty one. Nonetheless, thank you for tuning in here tonight. That's it for me, Austin Green, alongside Matthew Baker. And until next time, have a good night.